Alright, Susans and Steves, welcome back. I said that the channel was basically dead after the season, and I am not lying, the channel is basically dead. I have nothing to do on this channel anymore now that I am concluding my coverage of Preston North End. But just before we get to the next season, there are a couple of big things that are going to be talked about during What do you mean, bling? Apple, yes, thanks. Yeah, whatever. So obviously there'll be things that are talked about during pre-season, and that is, of course, going to be things such as player signings and the retain list, other things that are going on, like, new partnerships, like we just had with Ticketmaster. I didn't cover that in a video simply because I think it's self-explanatory for people to go and read it, and it's just not exactly interesting for people to watch on YouTube. It's unlike the retain list and my reactions to it, because I know this was posted 2 hours ago, and I did get a ping for when it was announced. I just haven't looked at it yet. I thought I'd wait until I get home to do this. So, just like we did last year, we're going to take a look at the retain list. So let's have a DB and see what it says. So, following the conclusion of the 23-24 season, Preston North End can confirm the club's retain list. Club captain Alan Brown has been offered a contract to extend his 10-year association with the club, while Ched Evans has been offered a player coach role. Okay, that's interesting. So basically, Brown still hasn't signed, but there is a contract on the table, and Evans, basically, we don't want him playing anymore, and he's instead going to just be a coach, because he said a while ago anyway, that he was getting his coaching badges with the club, and he would probably stay, so that's good. Midfielder Lewis Lee, currently on loan with League 2 playoff finalist Crewe Alexandra, has received an offer from the club, which is good. Ben Woodburn and Greg Cunningham will both be leaving. Oh, hallelujah. Okay, right, well, I already know about Cunningham. But Ben Woodburn leaving, I don't want to make bad statements about people and players. But Ben Woodburn leaving is going to make a lot of people happy, let's put it that way. He did well in 2 games for us, but other than that, he's just been a waste of a potential signing, so goodbye. Greg Cunningham will be leaving as well, which, of course, sad times. He's been a servant-ish to the club. He spent 6.5 years at Deepdale over 2 separate spells. Thank you, Cunningham, for all you've done, and hope for the best. So, 4 players coming to the end of their scholarships have had a 1-year option activated to extend their time with the under-19s, while 6 will leave Preston this summer. So, contracted professionals include McCann, Hughes, Whiteman, Potts, Di Cornell, Holmes, Reese, Rodriguez, Gentile, I can never say his name, Finley Crossader, Freddie Woodman, Jack Watmore, James Pradich, Jordan Story, Josh Sheary, Kean Best, Kean Taylor, Kit Nelson, Leighton Stewart, Liam Lindsay, Mads Frakiar, Miliut Nosmajic, Noah Maweni, Patrick Bauer. So it's interesting that Bauer hasn't been released. Brady, Ledson, Keane, and contracts have been offered to Brown, Evans, and Lewis Lee. Out of contract and release, Ben Woodburn and... Oh, is that it? Just Brad Cutting... Oh, okay. Miller will be returning to the parent club, so of course we all expected that. Under 19 players with a 1-year option activated include Cole McGee, Casper Pasiek, I don't know how you say that, Kieran Kamara and Tommy Davis. Second-year scholars released include Callum Harvard, Charlie Goldsmith, Ellis Oren, Ethan Eccleston, Isaac Kahn and Tom Wilkinson. Everyone at Preston North End would like to thank the departing players for their efforts during their time with the club and wish them the very best, including myself. Okay, so that's interesting that Bauer was not actually released, because Lord did go on record to say, I think it were a couple of weeks ago, that Bauer is more than welcome to leave. So whether or not Paddy wants to stay is to be left unseen, because you'd imagine that Greg Cunningham would be the one to sign on and Bauer to leave, considering Cunningham has featured more in the last 2 seasons than Bauer, unless Bauer's on the road to recovery and he wants to be kept on to be the new Cunningham in that position as a last minute backup. I don't know, but that's interesting. Interesting to see how many, actually just in general, how many of the young lads are actually contracted professionals. I knew there were a few, but I didn't know there were this many, so that's interesting. And of course we have contracts offered to these 3 boys. Of course everyone's hoping for Brown to sign. Ched is basically not going to sign as a player, he'll be a player coach, so if he doesn't sign as a coach, he'll be out the club. So that's a shame, because we was hoping he'd come back nice and strong after his injury. But of course it was a hell of an injury, so what can you expect? And I think Lewis Lee recently has been quite impressive in what I've been watching of him, so yeah, that's good. But yeah, no, happy days really. We've still got a fair amount of players here, but when you think about it, this only really makes up a starting 11 and an half decent bench at that. We've got a lot of work to do Because when you think about it, of course, that's a midfielder leaving and that's a defender leaving. As much as like this one had little contribution at most times, it's still an empty space on the bench that we need to fill with someone that will do something. And then obviously Liam Miller leaving is also a big, massive negative. Of course, I know Peter said that he was going to have talks to his parent club and whatnot to try and get him back for another spell, but come on, let's be honest, probably not happening. Same, it's an Alvaro all over again. So we need to be identifying other targets for that. And then when it comes to other rumours I've heard, I don't normally comment on rumours because, much like Craig Hemmings, I don't like the rumours. I just wait until there's actually concrete evidence and things. But yeah, with rumours, the only one I've really heard that's been a standout up to now and making newspaper headlines is that we as well as Blackburn are interested in signing Cannon from Leicester, which is a strange thing to go back for Tom Cannon, especially now that he'd probably be valued at more after winning the league with Leicester, even though he's not done a massive amount for them, but that's just football. So that, yeah, interesting indeed. I would have expected us to have released another couple of names perhaps, but then again, there aren't that many players out of contract. It's only really Woodburn, Cunningham, Evans and Brown in terms of like the main players. Of course, no disrespect to Lewis Lee, but when I'm talking about like, you know, the adult professionals, the season pros and whatnot. So yeah, that's interesting. Of course, there's a lot of young lads that have been offered and whatnot, and then some young lads that have departed. But I don't follow the you know, the younger side, you know, the academy side too much, so I'm not really too familiar with all that. So I don't want to comment. Apart from, you know, some of the lads that are contracted professionals, I know who some of those are, and I've seen them play. But beside that, it's happy days really. You know, we've not got too many spaces to fill as of now. However, we still do need that work doing, let's be honest with you, because I was having this conversation the other day. We're so hell-bent on playing a wing-back system without wing-backs. Why? If we want to play that system properly, we need the wing-backs for it, and if we don't have the wing-backs for it, then why don't we switch to something else that we can do, like play with attacking wingers, which is something we have. It baffles me. So yeah, hopefully that will get looked into realistically, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, as we stand, that's not too bad. It's not criminal at all. So I just hope all we do is we take a step back and actually identify what we need here, because we're all good at saying we need another striker, but then if you look at this list, I'm looking at it now, of course you can't see because I've got it on full screen, but we've got Reece, and just for the benefit of the doubt, I'm not going to count the young lads, so we've got Reece, we've got Leighton Stewart, we've got Osmajic, and Will Keane. That's 4 strikers we've got already. Will Keane was our highest goal scorer last season and one of the highest in the division at one point. Of course, Reece looks better than ever. Well, not better than ever, but he's looking fit and ready to go again. Of course, he suffered an injury on the final day, which is a shame. But we'll see the extent of that soon. Osmajic is questionable. Osmajic, obviously, he scored that hat-trick and whatnot, but I think Millie only really works when he has service, and that's something we don't have, which is exactly why it leads me to the point of why don't we focus on the midfield for a moment, because even though we do have a fair few midfielders, again to list off, we've got McCann, Whiteman, Potts, technically counting in the midfield because he can play there, Holmes, who else have we got in there? We've also got, I'm not going to count Jack Botmore as a midfielder because he's a defender, not a fucking centre half. Who else is in there? We've got Bestie, he can do that job. I'm not entirely sure about Keane Taylor or Kit Nelson on what they do, unfortunately. We've got Mads, Noah Maweny, I will count Maweny, he's had season pro game time, and Ledson and Brady. So there's plenty of midfielders there, but there's just nothing going on unless select people start together in a formation that works. So we need midfielders that can have a bit of that swaz and quality without those variables, because that's where we've gone wrong, especially in the latter half of the season, when some of our better players such as McCann and Whiteman have picked up injuries, and Potts especially have picked up those injuries. We've been looking like sitting ducks when it comes to attacks coming our way. It's been disastrous, and it's why we've fallen apart, because we've had absolutely nothing on the backbone to pull us out of shit. And of course, if Brown does end up leaving, then that's one massive role that's also gone. So yeah, there's some work that needs to be done, and of course I know they said they're going to identify the targets. They already have them identified. They're going to try and get them as fast as they can. Again, that's all well and good and saying. It's whether or not we actually deliver on what we say. We don't know who these targets are, and you know, I'm not been seeing many rumours apart from the Cannon one, but that's one that I look at and go, really, because I don't think it's a necessity, especially when we've got who we have already, who have proven they can score goals quite frequently, provided the rest of the team aren't shit. So that's just how I think of it. That's my sort of stance on it. But yeah. there's nothing else really to cover there, so we'll sign off by saying we hope Alan Brown signs on, we hope Ched Evans has a wonderful coaching career, we hope Greg Cunningham goes away to another club or has a nice retirement, and I hope Ben Woodburn can shine in League 2, or maybe non-league, but we'll see, you'll get some game time somewhere. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Of course, you probably read this without me, but content. And yeah, I'll every time. And yeah, the only other videos you can expect from me now are when the kit's released, because there'll be a home kit launch at the end of the month. There's some final sports discuss, and maybe some bits on the pre-season. But yeah, if nothing comes out before, let's say, start of July, or roughly around when pre-season Camp Moore begins and whatnot, then I will do my sign-off video. So yeah, cheers again, and we'll see you whenever I next see you.